Good morning, grade 10. How are you? Hope you all doing well. Today we're going to take the grammar from Unit 9, the object relative clause. When I finish the video, you have a homework on your workbook page 70. Okay, now the first question that I want to ask you is, why do we use defining relative clauses? And what are they? We use defining relative clauses to say which person or thing we are talking about and to distinguish the person or thing from others. Okay? We use the relative pronouns who, which, and that as both subjects and objects relative pronoun clauses. Okay? Now, how can I differentiate between a subject and an object relative pronoun? The relative pronouns can be either the subject or the object of the relative clause. For example, I say, Marco Polo was a merchant who visited China in the 13th century. In this example, who is considered as subject relative pronoun. Why? The first question you have to ask yourself is, who refers to what? It refers to Marco Polo, who's the merchant, right? Okay, Marco Polo in the sentence is the subject of the sentence, right? And who refers to the merchant or Marco Polo. So who is considered also as the subject of the relative pronoun. Okay? Number 2, we have glaciers are rivers of ice which form in cold climates on mountains, which here also is a subject relative pronoun. Why? Because it refers to glaciers rivers, right? And the glaciers rivers form in cold climates on mountains. So here the rivers are the subject and which refers to this subject. So which is considered as subject relative pronoun. Number 3, Einstein is a scientist who I admire. Here it is an object relative pronoun. Why? Because if we just reread the sentence in another context, when I say I admire Einstein, who's the scientist, okay? I is the subject and Einstein is what? Is the object. Who refers to the object, right? So it is considered as an object relative pronoun. Number 4, this is the poem that I wrote in my first year. I wrote this poem. So this poem is what? Here in the sentence it is the object of the sentence, right? And that refers to the poem. So that is considered as an object relative pronoun. I wrote here some examples for you to make it easier. Okay, here we have subject and object relative clauses, not only pronouns, clauses, okay? Let's see the first example. The first example says, the book which was published last year was the third in the series. This sentence is a passive sentence, right? The book here is the agent of the sentence. And the agent look like the subject of a normal sentence, okay? In the active sentence. So, which was published last year. This whole clause refers to the book. And the book here is the subject of the sentence. So, which was published last year, I'm talking about the book, the subject of the sentence. So, this clause is considered as subject relative clause. Okay? Is it clear? Number 2. The writer who signed my book will be at the bookshop again today. Okay, who signed my book? This whole clause refers to the writer. The writer will be at the bookshop again today. So the writer here is the subject of this sentence. And who signed my book? This whole clause refers to the writer. So it is considered as subject relative clause. Okay, when you understand the context of the meaning, it will make it easier for you to differentiate if it is a subject or an object relative clause. Number 3. The book that you told me about is available on the internet. Why here that you told me about? This whole clause is considered as an object relative clause because you is the subject here in this sentence. Okay, you told me about the book, so the book here is the object. Okay, so this clause refers to what? To the book, so it is also an object relative clause. Clear? It's easy. Number 4. The travel guides which I left on the table are all in English. Here it's what? It is also an object relative clause which I left on the table. Refers to what? I'm talking about what? I'm talking about the travel guides, right? That I left them on the table. So I is the subject and the travel guides are the object of the sentence. According to this, I have to look at the clause, the relative clause. Relative clause here refers to what? It refers to the travel guides. So, it is an object relative clause. I hope it's easy for you. Okay. Now, after differentiating between the subject and the object relative pronoun, I want to ask you something. Can we omit? Omit, it means delete. The object relative pronouns, can we delete them? Yes, we can. Omitting object relative pronouns. We can leave out the relative pronoun if it is the object of the verb in a defining relative clause. There is no change in meaning. Let's see. Okay. The book that you told me about was not in the shop. The book you told me about was not in the shop. Do you see any difference over here? No. So, we can omit or delete the object relative pronoun, okay? And there will be no difference in meaning. Clear? Now let's do exploit exercise 2 from page 79 in your student's book. Okay, let's see what does it say. Exercise number 2. Choose the correct answer for each sentence. Sometimes more than one answer is possible. Let's see the first sentence. The magazine which it serialized Georgie Zidane's historical novels was Al-Hilal. Okay, here I have to use which, right? It refers to the magazine and it's the most suitable answer. Number 2. What was the name of the writer? Who you wrote your essay about, which you wrote your essay about, or you wrote your essay about. Here we have two suitable answers. What are they? The first one is which you. wrote. Okay, and the second one is you. Why? Because which here is an object relative pronoun, and we said that we can omit or delete the object relative pronoun. So if you used which you or you, both of them are correct. Okay? Let's see number 3. The bookshop, which always go to, that always go to, or that I always go to is closing down. The most suitable answer here is that I always go to. And here, that refers to bookshop, okay? And it is an object relative pronoun. So here I can use that I, which is written over here. And if I give you another one like I, you can use that I or I. Okay? Number 4. The character. Who he goes abroad to look, who goes abroad to look, or which goes abroad to look. Which one is the suitable one? Who. The character who goes abroad to look for work is based on the author. Number 5, the teacher we like the most, who liked the most, or that we like the most taught literature. We can use either we or that we like the most taught literature. Both of them are correct. Okay? Here I'm using what? An object relative pronoun. I think it is so easy. I hope you understand me. And if you have any question, please just contact me. Okay, there is something important we have to learn today is the prepositions in relative clauses. Okay? Prepositions in relative clauses. We can use prepositions before the relative pronouns whom and which. Okay? This is quite formal. So, if you are writing in a formal way, okay, you can put the preposition before the relative pronoun. Look at the examples over here. He's the man from whom I bought the book. Okay, do you see here from? It is before the relative pronoun. Example number 2. 23rd April is the day on which the book will be published. On which. Here you can see that the preposition came before the relative pronoun. Correct? But we can also put the prepositions at the end of the relative clause. And this is quite informal. Okay? So if you put the preposition at the end of the relative clause, it is considered as informal. If you put the preposition before the relative pronoun, it is considered as a formal writing. Okay? Let's see the examples. He's the man who I bought the book from. Do you see from? The preposition came at the end of the relative clause. 23rd April is the day that the book will be published on. So on here what is the preposition of the relative clause, and it came at the end of the relative clause, so it is informal. We can replace some relative pronouns with a preposition and which. There is something important you have to learn today, that we can use in which or at which instead of where. We can use on which and in which instead of when. We can use for which instead of why. Okay? So let's see the examples below. 23rd April is the day when or on which the book will be published. The town where or in which I was born is very small. The reason why or for which I wrote the book was to give my side of the story. Now let's see how can we use the prepositions in relative clauses. Exercise number 3. Replace the relative pronouns with the prepositions and the relative pronoun which. The first sentence. The year when Shakespeare arrived in London, Elizabeth was the Queen of England. What can I use here instead of when? I can use in which Shakespeare arrived. Clear? Number 2. The Industrial Revolution was the reason why a lot of writers wrote about science in the 19th century. So here, what can I use instead of why? I can say the Industrial Revolution was the reason for which a lot of writers wrote about science. Okay, so I can use for which instead of why. Number 3, I borrowed that book the day when I met your mother. She was the librarian. What can I use here instead of when? On which I met your mother. On which. Number 4, the university where I studied has produced many famous authors. Where? What can I use instead of where? I can say the university at which I studied has produced many famous authors. And number 5, one of the reasons why he wrote poetry was to experiment with the structure of the language. What can I use instead of why? I can use for which he wrote poetry. Okay? Hello, grade 10. How are you? Hope you all doing well. Today, we're going to take our new vocabulary, our Ebooks vocabulary from Skills. Okay. Here you can find 8 pictures for ebooks, and we have to match them with the suitable words. The first one says ebook. Okay, I wrote here the definitions for you just to understand them, to understand the meaning, okay, and to differentiate between them. So, the first one, ebook is an electronic version of a printed book which can be read on a computer or a specifically designed handheld device. And this is something most of us know it, right? Number 2, hardback. Hardback. What is a hardback? A book that has stiff covers. If you looked with me to picture number 2, please, you can see what do I mean by a hardback. Do you see this book? This is a hardback on picture number 2. Picture number 3, leaflet. What is a leaflet? A leaflet is a printed sheet of paper containing information or advertising and usually distributed free. All of us know what is a leaflet, right? A leaflet, it is a printed sheet of paper. It contains most of the time advertising information for a shop, cafe, hospital, whatever, okay? And usually it is distributed free. Number 4. If you looked at number 4, you can see a scroll. What is a scroll? A roll of parchment or paper for writing on. And people in the past used to use scroll. Number 5, audiobook. When I say audiobook, the first thing has to come to your mind is a CD or a cassette, right? Because it is something recorded. So, an audiobook is a recording on a CD or cassette of reading of a book, typically a novel, okay, which is number 5, picture number 5. Number 6, tablet, a flat slab of stone, clay, or wood used especially for an inscription. Do you look at picture number 6, please? You can see. What do I mean by a tablet? Number 7, paperback, a book bound in stiff paper or flexible card. If you looked at picture 2 and picture 7, you can differentiate between a hardback and a paperback. Okay? Number 8, we have comic book. What is a comic book? A magazine that presents a serialized story in the form of a comic strip, typically featuring the adventures of a superhero. Now, after knowing the meanings of the ebooks vocabularies, we have to do exercise number 2. Complete the sentences with the correct form of the words from exercise 1. The first sentence, I never have time to read. Please omit the first two. Okay? I never have time, not to time. I never have time to read, but I often listen to an what audiobook when I go to bed. Number 2, the ancient Greeks wrote information on scrolls. Number 3, the words were engraved on. We engrave on what? We scratch on what? On tablet of stone. Number 4, I will buy the novel when it is published in paperback because it will be cheaper. Number 5, the battery on my e-book ran out and I could not finish the story. Why we said ebook? Because we use batteries for electronic devices. Number 6, look at this leaflet advertising the new gem. I prefer what? Because they look better on my bookshelves and last longer. Hardback. Okay? Number 8, most people think comic books are for children, but a lot of adults enjoy them too. This is the end of our lesson today. I hope it was easy for you. Thank you. Hello, my friends. How are you? Today we're going to take grammar, reduced relative clauses. Okay? When I finish the video, you have a homework on your workbook, page 72. Reduced relative clauses. What are reduced relative clauses? We can sometimes remove the relative pronouns who, which, or that, and the verb to be in the subject relative clauses. These clauses are called reduced relative clauses. So, when can I use them? In the subject relative clauses. What I have to do? I can remove who, which, that, plus the verb to be. Then I will have a reduced relative clause. Okay? Let's see here the examples. Example number 1. Only the writers which are on the list have to be studied. I can say only the writers on the list have to be studied. And both of them are correct. So, when I'm removing the relative pronoun and the verb to be, I will have a reduced relative clause. Number two, online encyclopedias are perfect for someone that is trying to save space. So here I can remove that plus the verb to be is. I can remove both of them and the sentence is correct. Number three, he bought an antique book written in the 19th century. I can remove which had been, and here I have the perfect form from verb to be, which had been. Okay, so when I'm removing it, I will have a reduced relative clause. Robert Louis Stevenson, who was the author of Treasure Island, was a good sailor. I can say that Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Treasure Island, was a good sailor. Okay? There's something also you have to know that we cannot reduce object relative clauses in this way. Okay? Look at this example. Only the writers which I spoke about must be studied. Do you see? I cannot here remove it. Okay? So the object relative clauses can't be removed in the same way of the subject relative clauses. Now, let's do the exercises for reduced relative clauses on exploit. Please open your student's book on exploit. Let's do it together. Join the sentences using reduced relative clauses. Mahfouz's novel Medak Ali was made into a film. It was first serialized in a magazine. How can I do this sentence? First of all, I have to put the first clause. Mahfouz's novel Medak Ali, first serialized in a magazine, was made into a film. In general, this sentence was what? Mahfouz's novel Medak Ali, which was the first, right? I have to remove the relative pronoun, the subject relative pronoun, and verb to be, which was. And I have to continue. First, serialized in a magazine, was made into a film. Clear? Number two, young authors should try this website. They are looking for a publisher. How can I do this sentence? First of all, let's do it as a subject relative clause with a subject relative pronoun. Young authors who are looking for a publisher should try this website, right? Now, let's make a reduced relative clause. We have to omit who and are, so it will be young authors looking for a publisher should try this website. Number three, many books are unknown to most people. These books are on university literature courses. How can we do this sentence? We have to say many books on university literature courses are unknown to most people. Do you see how easy it is? Number four, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels is still popular today. It was published in 18th century. How can I do this sentence? I have to, first of all, put the Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, published in the 18th century, is still popular today. Number five, only lucky readers will meet the author. They have been given an invitation. Only lucky readers, given an invitation, will meet the author. Number 6. Hay ibn Yaqdan was written by Ibn Tufel. It was one of the bird's first novels. So, Hay ibn Yaqdan, one of the bird's first novels, was written by Ibn Tufel. Okay? Is it clear? I hope so. It's clear for everybody. Now, can we please read the lookout books? It says reduced relative clauses with there is or there are. We can use reduced relative clauses with the present or past participles after there is or was, and there are or there were. There are some people listening. Here, listening is a present to about reading. And we can use there was a car which was parked on the pavement. Was parked is what is the past participle. Now let's do exercise number 2 together. Read the lookout books. Use the words in brackets. Write sentences beginning there is, there was, there are, there were. The library was full. Lots of students revise for the exams. So how can I do this sentence? I have to say there were lots of students revising for their exams. Number 2, the pages of the book were blank, nothing right in it. So what I have to say, there was nothing written in it. Number 3, I want to study Spanish literature. Some courses start at the university. I have to say, there are some courses starting at university. Okay, here because I want to study Spanish, here it's what? It is present, so I have to use a present while I'm doing a sentence, okay? Number 4, the 19th century was a golden age of literature. Lots of writers produced good material. So here was, it is a past, so I have to use a past in my sentence. So, there were lots of writers producing good material. Number 5, we did not understand anything. Poem translate badly from Chinese. So, what I have to do, I have to say, there was a poem translated badly from Chinese. Number 6, there is a literature festival in the city center. Writers sign autographs. There are writers signing autographs. I hope it is easy for you and you understand what I'm talking about. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Hello, grade 10. Hello, my friends. How are you? I hope you all doing well. Today, we're going to take something as new and different for you. We're going to know how to write a book review. When I finish this video, please, you have a homework. It is the worksheet number 5. You have to do the grammar exercises and you have also to write a book review. What do I mean by a book review? A book review is a form of literary criticism in which a book is analyzed based on content, style, and merit. A book review can be a primary source opinion piece, summary review or scholarly review. A book review's length may vary from a single paragraph to a substantial essay. But you have to write an essay, okay? Not only one paragraph. Now, let's see how can we organize our book review. First of all, you have to put in your mind that you have to write it into 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph, you have to provide the important facts and details about the novel. Okay? Number 2, in paragraph number 2, you have to describe the main characters and their situations. Number 3, mention an important turning point. Okay, and other important events. What was the most important point? What was the turning point on this book? You have to write it down in paragraph number 3. Number 4, say why you enjoyed it and state what the message of the novel is. So the last paragraph, you can write your opinion, you can write why you enjoyed it, okay? And say what was the message for this novel from the writer's point of view, okay? Now we've finished our unit. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it is easy for you. Please, if you have anything, if you have any question, just contact me. And have a nice day. See you all soon, inshallah.